Good. That's it? Pretty good?
Great.
I'm Randy Smith. I'm a lead instructor at Patrick Henry Community College. I've took this program many, many years ago, and it has supported my family for the last 25 years. So welding's not for everybody. However, if you like working with your hands and stuff like that, and learning different welding processes, you may love this field. Can you get a good job? Is it money? We'll be talking about money all day today. Both of us has went out and made good money with this field. We're certified at stick, MIG, and TIG. And when we talk to you today about those processes, sometimes that's a foreign language to people. But this is a TIG torch. So we'll have you down here later to practice with a TIG torch. When we talk about stick welding, we have the electrodes here to show you. How many of you have ever stick or MIG welded? See, that's why Franklin County is so good. Some of you grow up with it. This is a MIG gun. So the wire comes out of it and you wire weld. So we brought some stuff to kind of, instead of just saying those terms, we wanted to show you a little bit about it. Also brought a simulator here. Hopefully some of you will try this today. You actually see the weld. You see it put the metal together. You see the fire, you see the welded puddle. There's no way to get hurt here. So that you don't have to dress up or you're not wasting metal, you can't get burnt. But we brought all this stuff to let you try it. We have information on our program and stuff here. And we show you some welds that some of our students have done. Some of these we've done. We have pamphlets, information on our program. Currently we're running 177 students. And we are hiring some more instructors because we're getting bigger and bigger. I think in about a month or so, some of y'all are invited to our school to see the shop. We have a phenomenal new shop, 3-4 times bigger than our old shop. And it's filling up quick. And a lot of companies are calling us needing welders. So I see people standing here looking and wondering about welding. We have about 13 females in our program now. And that number just keeps going up. So once people see that it ain't just for males, and they see people go be successful and make good money, it's for anybody that wants to work with their hands, okay? If you like to fabricate and build something and have pride in it, it can be for you, all right? I've been in the field for about 25 years. I've done everything from gas lines to heavy equipment to welding a shop to fixing farm stuff. I've done a little bit of everything in this field. And I come into work happy every day that I could pass this trade on to somebody like you. And I watch people go get average jobs and then take our program and then go out and double their salary. And that's what keeps me coming back. I have people sending me pictures from Canada, from San Diego, from Washington State, Texas, Kentucky, Virginia Beach shipyards. That's what keeps me coming back. So they got pride in their work, they changed their life, and I've been teaching it. Even though I've been welding for 25 or 30 years, I've been teaching it for 23. So this year at the college, I get my 10-year pen. It took me 23 years to get a 10-year pen. But anyway, again, I'm Randy Smith. We'll be talking to you today. We'll give you some PowerPoints and some pictures. We'll show you all we can about our program.
All right, my turn. My name's Chad Hughes. I'm one of the welding instructors, just like Randy is also. I am a graduate of Patrick Henry's welding program. I graduated from Patrick County High School back in 2006, and I decided that I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. We had a couple people come kind of like this right here, where we got to see some people that did trades and stuff like that. I kind of always thought, that's pretty interesting. It might be something I would get into. But somewhere around March of my senior year, I got contacted by a recruit to go play football. So I left Patrick County High School, went to Emory and Henry, played football for 2 years. I realized after a while that the money was a big thing. Went to sign up one day and they said, you got to pay us $14,000 because a lot of your scholarships have fell off because your GPA dropped. Okay, so I was one of those people that left high school, kind of got out doing stuff in college that I wasn't really supposed to do, instead of going to class every day. Okay, I was one of those people. GPA dropped, so all of my scholarships, even though they were sports-based, was still based off of my GPA. So I lost a lot of them, almost all of them. Back then, Emory and Henry was $34,000 a year to go to. Okay, I started doing some math in my head, and I said, well, this isn't going to work out. If I pay $100,000 for me to go to school, and I leave here and go make $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, it's going to take me a long time to pay this off. So called my parents, I said, I'm quitting college. So my father, he's not a person who went to school anyway, so he said, y'all get a job, go back to school, I don't care what you do. So that's when I went to the welding program at Patrick Henry. Went to the sawmill during the day, I made $8 an hour, okay? About 12 hours into my first day, because we worked 12, 14 hours a day packing lumber, I said, this is not for me, okay? $8 an hour, the math ain't working out here either. So I got into the welding program the next week, went through the whole program at night, it took me about 2 years to complete it, and then I went and got my first welding job. Instantly, I kind of enjoyed that type of work, right? I enjoyed the sawmill. I was outside or inside all day. I kind of got to do different stuff. I welded for them. I did some mechanic work for them. I loaded trucks for them. And that's kind of how I grew up. I enjoyed working with my hands. I enjoyed doing different stuff. Shockingly, this is not where I'm comfortable at. I hate being in front of groups. I hate being in a setting like this. I would rather be working. But once I got my first welding job, started making some money, made decent money, me and my father was talking one day and he was in the process of retiring. So I asked him, I said, how much money did you make last year? And he worked for the highway department, so he worked for VDOT, he was a supervisor. He made $46,000 the year before he retired. My first year of welding, I made $49,000. I was 19 years old. And he looked at me right then, he said, that's why I told you to go to school. I didn't care what you went for, but he said, there's more money than what's out there if you don't go to school. So I can officially say I've made everywhere between $13 an hour and $100 an hour as a welder. Okay. Now, I didn't make the 100 welding. That's after I got my CWI and got into inspection and did some contract work. So companies would hire me for 20 hours here, 40 hours here, whatever. So there's a big gap there between what you can make and what you should make as a welder, because a lot of it's based on skill, and that was kind of where I kind of fell into it at. I enjoyed that type of work. I enjoyed learning more, going back to school. I would work for a welding company and they'd say, hey, we need somebody to get trained on this product or this machine. I was always like, yeah, sign me up. Okay, they'd fly you off. The school still does it for me. Okay, new technology comes out, they say, who wants to go learn this? Fly me out there, I'm ready to go. Okay, and all that does is make me more valuable to the next person that hires me. Not saying I'll ever leave Randy. Okay, he might fuss at me, but that makes me more valuable. Okay, I'm still fairly young. I have a lot of work ahead of me, like you all do. So, like, my idea is I want to be worth as much money as I can be to the next person that hires me. Okay, my idea is to never go back to a sawmill for $8 an hour unless I really have to. Okay, so that's why I fell into this. I enjoy this type of work. Not necessarily teaching. Teaching was something. In a million years, I'd have laughed at you if you'd have told me this is what I was going to be doing. I enjoyed welding. But like Randy said, I enjoy the idea now that I take people that are working at Wendy's, they're working at Walmart, making 10, 12 bucks an hour, and I'm not solely responsible, but I have a large part in them leaving and going and making $30 an hour. Just like 5 or 6 did within the last couple months with us. Okay, so to me, that's rewarding. I enjoy that. I like getting phone calls on a Friday evening and somebody said, hey, look what I just bought, right? Thank you for getting me that job. I really appreciate it. So, that's kind of the teaching end of it, but I enjoy the welding. There's days that I love just going and setting the welding and not having to worry about the teaching end of it. But, we're going to show you a couple things, like he said, with our program. If you have questions while we're going through this, feel free to ask us. We are not public speakers. We are not set up for an hour and a half of talking, I can promise you that. So feel free to ask us questions, and then we'll fill in some information along the way. We'll probably repeat ourselves 10 or 12 times. Sorry, that's just the way we work. So, anybody got questions before we get started? Okay. So, if you haven't figured this out yet, we're from Patrick Henry and we're involved in welding, right? So, one of the things I think is neat about our program, or something that I really feel like sells our program, is welding certifications. Okay, this is something that you get from a completely different place. It comes from a third-party weld testing company. It does not have my name on it. It does not have Randy's name on it. It does not have Patrick Henry's name on it. Okay. What this is a piece of paper that says that you went and you took a specific test to a specific welding process, okay, and you successfully done it to code. So, just to give you kind of an idea of what that means, is a welding code is like a written set of rules for welding tests, right? You're allowed to have so much defects and things like that in it. I won't get into a crazy spiel on welding just yet, but so you set up and you take that test, they test it. If it passes successfully, then you get a welding certification. So when you hear people call themselves a certified welder, that's what they've done. They took some kind of welding certification. Okay. Some are just as simple as things you see on the table. They could be a simple T-joint. Okay. They could also be a pipe test. They could be a plate test, whatever the case may be. But what we do is, inside of our program, kind of embedded in our program, while you're going through, we have certain points where we stop and do certifications. So like last night, I stayed till 9:30 because I had a guy taking a stainless test. Actually 2 stainless and a MIG test. So we stayed late for class, and I'll let those students finish those. So it's not like you stop and everybody takes a certification at one time. You hit these at your speed, however quick you're moving through the program. Anything, Randy?
Well, you see, I had to buy him breakfast to get him here this morning, this early, after staying that late last night. But like you said, I was mentioning different processes to you. These certifications is what goes on your resume, and we help you build that at school before you finish our program. So they're a resume builder that helps you go to Newport News and get a job. Helps you go to your local area and weld and build trailers like Nexthaul. I have a lot of people going there. A lot of people from this area to Roanoke and Bonnettot, Alltech, stuff like that builds trucks. These certifications is what gets you the interview. Certifications have to be renewed. I welded on natural gas lines, so mine had to be renewed every 5.5 months to keep me inside a 6-month window. That allows me to weld on live lines. I know that don't sound safe, and it really wasn't, but it paid really good money. But he stayed late to help that student get the certification, and then that student can move on to another. The average is 3 to 5 certs per student. Again, that's different processes, but we have students right now taking their 9th certification. So when that student leaves us, the job openings are, he can apply just about anywhere. So naturally, if you want to go to John Deere, you might need 3 or 4, because they do the same process over and over and over again. And they're good at it. Anybody want to guess the starting pay at Deere right now? If you left high school and you got certified with, say, a year of community college to a year and a half, that's about 55 minutes south of Martinsville. Anybody want to guess that starting pay? Whew, that was close. It's around 30 an hour. So we have, Chad had a high schooler from Magna Vista take our training and start there as soon as he graduated. In fact, they held him up. He passed the test before he graduated.
Yeah, they didn't realize he hadn't graduated high school yet.
They had to make him graduate before he would go to work down there. So that's now granted that might be a second shift job as your first job. But ask your parents if 30 an hour is not really good pay for this area. And ask them how long they worked somewhere to get that money. I know my parents worked in factories and worked 20 years there to get 20 an hour. So I'm just trying to put that in perspective for you. But, and I think, does anybody recognize this? She's Franklin County.
She looks familiar, Ashley.
Ashley.
She's married now. She married Matt. But I can't remember.
Used to be Perkins, maybe?
Yep.
So Ashley went through and got, I don't know, 5, 6 certs. And she does crafts and stuff like that, but she does weld art. She fixes farm equipment. I see she sends me pictures all the time of it. She's still involved with welding. So there's one from Franklin County. That wasn't intentional. She's just successful.
And she just built her house.
She built a house. She won a pageant too, because when somebody sent me a picture of her when she's taking welding, and as soon as she signed up, another girl came over that's a friend of Ashley's, maybe Brooke McGee,
I think so.
another one from here.
Yeah.
And Brooke was in nursing. So sometimes we get a lot of females that, I'm like, a nurse is coming to take welding? I don't know how this is gonna work, but then, guess what? Brooke still welds for Dock Solutions up there, that's Franklin County. And she builds stuff on Smith Mountain Lake all the time, and it's aluminum weld. It's a advanced process. Just so, we're gonna keep throwing you examples just to show you what makes us proud and why we do what we do. But both of them's been successful, and again, they got their interviews from taking these tests. And of course, she's smiling and she's got hers in her hand. That's a national test. She could have took that, got that same interview in San Diego Shipyard. So it's national. It's not something that's local. Your company can do local testing. Like my gas company that I was welding for, they would do a local test to keep us up to date and keep us current. But to get that interview and get that job, Chad and I had to do these same certifications.
All right, so next is going to be the slightly boring stuff, so I'll kind of run through this. But this is just the career state certificate here, or not here, there at the college, right? Ignore the numbers. I'll tell you kind of the simplest way to explain our weld program to you. If every one of y'all started this semester, right, we're going to start you all off at the same place. Okay? We're going to start you out in basic welding. By the end of this semester, every one of you would be in a different spot in the program, okay? So what kind of one thing that we like to do, and I guess we pride ourselves on, is we hardly ever look like this while we're teaching, okay? Most of the time you see me with a welding hat on, my welding jacket on, my gloves on, and my helmet under my arm, and I'm walking around the whole time. Randy's the same way. When you are ready to move to something, I don't move this whole entire group to the next thing, okay? I get you individually. I go sit down in your welding booth. I will explain to you the next process or whatever the case is I'm switching you to. I'm going to sit down and make that weld for you. Okay? I'm going to show you what I expect. I'm going to tell you, kind of talk you through everything, and then I'm going to turn you loose with it. Okay? So we're not moving giant groups around. Well, where that benefits you all is if you are ready to go to the next thing, I'm moving you. Okay? If you need more time or more experience on something, I'm letting you have that time there. Okay? It's not that we're trying to pick and choose who moves. We move at your pace. If you miss a day, okay, your buddy's going to be in front of you when you come back. Okay? If you like to hang out in the parking lot, that's going to hurt how fast you progress through the program. The people who come in every day and put their head down and go to work are the most successful people, are the ones that are going to move the quickest. Now, there are people that are naturally talented at welding. I was not one of those people. Okay? I used to drive me nuts. People in my class would fly through stuff, and I felt like I worked on it for weeks. But the difference was I showed up every day. I didn't hang out in the parking lot. Okay? I stayed late half the time, right? So I kept up with them. And that's the difference in our program. We're going to spend the time you need on something. If I have him welding, right, and something happens and he's having an issue and he's getting caught up on it, I'm going to sit down in his booth again and I'm going to make that weld and we're going to talk through it. Okay. So when we have a group of say 17 to 18 people in one class, every night I usually go in your booth a couple times, sit down with you, talk you through something if you're having issues or whatever the case may be. Okay. So that's the difference with this. When you see those numbers, we literally do that to make the bosses happy. Okay? Those numbers mean a lot to the state and to the college. Don't tell them I said that. But for us, you're going to progress through the program how you progress.
And that's an advantage for you guys. You move at your pace. If you understand what he's saying, we could move you as a group. But what if some of you are not really getting it, and we move you on with the group? Then maybe you don't get that certification and half this group does. By the time we get to the end, the ones that were naturally good at it, they're going to have a lot of certs. But we left some people out, right? So it's an advantage to you the way he's talking about that being set up. For the instructors, it's really hard. Just think about what he said. You all started on the same thing. And now 3 months into our program, everybody's at a different spot. So So we're running around with our heads cut off, but that's why we put on our gear and we stay with you nonstop. And we're always in there. When you have trouble with something, we're in there to run another beat with you. So we don't sit in our office and say, hey, go to the vertical position now because you did really good on the flat. We're going to take you to that position. We're going to do every weld before you do. And then we're going to let you have it for a while. The way to get good at welding is repetition, hands-on. If you like hands-on classes, this is for you. We do have blueprint metallurgy. You'll see stuff listed. Blueprint reading is the 150. That's prints that teaches you how to read a blueprint for welding. You're going to fabricate something out of that print. Whether it's a box or we build stuff, that's fabrication. That's also part of welding. And in our new shop, we have a fabrication lab. And ever since we've been in there, we've been building stuff. Currently, we have built outside platforms for you to take a portable welder outside, fire it up, learn the settings on it, and weld outside. Don't sound like too big of a deal, right? But when the wind blows, it messes up your weld. When the sun gets in the back of your weld hood, it messes you up. You can't see good. Of course, it could be cold. It could be hot. I've welded many of pipelines in 95-degree welding. Sometimes that wasn't fun. But that's what we're trying to give you, some real life situations, not just sitting in a booth and welding all day and getting comfortable. Once we teach you how to weld, our job is to make you uncomfortable, because that's the way the real world is, okay? You'll be laying on the floor, you'll be on a scaffold, a scissor lift, under a boat, you're gonna be under a trailer. There's gonna be a situation that ain't gonna be exactly like the weld is, all right? That's what we're doing at our school. We've got those platforms, the floors move on them and everything. We designed them to make it a little tough on them. So if you've ever welded on a scissor lift, later on, the scissor lift moves. That's what our simulator platform does, it moves. So you'll see when you get to there, we're having a lot of fun with that.
All right, so jumping back a little bit, what we're doing, and we've kind of explained this, and this kind of goes back to how we run classes, is last night, okay, the group I had last night, I had 2 people who just started this semester. I have, 6 or 7 that are probably on their 6th semester, okay? So what that does to me is, literally, we are running all different processes throughout the program. So last night, I had people doing basic stick welding, I had people TIG welding aluminum, TIG welding stainless, had a couple of people testing at different phases. I was TIGging pipe with 2 guys, all in one class. So I literally go from one booth where I might have a guy doing flat, okay, stick welding. I walk out of their booth to go to the next booth, and it's a girl in here doing overhead flux core. I leave that booth and walk over here and it's somebody pipe welding. Or I might be having somebody tacking up and prepping pipe. I got people running a saw over here in the corner getting ready for a test, right? So when we run a lot of different processes, our job as instructors is we meet with local businesses all the time. Last week we had about 6 local businesses in. We've had people in the last little bit come from other companies to the shop. And what our goal is to figure out what they need. Okay, so if they come to us, if a local company comes to us and says, we're switching to this process, and it's something that you don't have in your program, Randy and my job is to figure out how we can now put that into our program and get people that are qualified when they leave to go work for that company. Okay, so that's how we kind of got into a lot of this, the outside platforms he's talking about. That's how we get into different certifications that we usually don't offer. That's how we get into running different types of machines, processes, different materials, stuff like that. So if a company comes to us and says something, we're going to figure it out. So here's a couple of people getting ready to do some stuff. The guy over here, he's TIG welding, looks like carbon pipe on this side, and this guy is in the process of stick welding open roots. So we're getting ready to switch him into stick welding pipe. Okay, so we run a lot of multiple processes there, a lot of different types of base material. At one time, we were TIG welding chrome moly tubing for like race car chassis and stuff. So that was something me and Randy, I don't really have a lot of experience in it. I've done a lot of TIG welding, right? So the school sends us off. Me and Randy go get trained on the process of actually welding it and doing it. Then we come back and offer it into the class.
Hey, we got to fly to Cleveland and get in a new school and weld chrome moly and titanium and all kinds of special alloys. Chad and I tried to stick our big toe in Lake Erie and it was froze over, so we didn't get to do that. I've always wanted to do something like that up there, but
Cleveland in January is
when the
cold.
wind blows up there, it snows. So we was in the classroom and the wind started blowing, next thing you know, you can't see because it's snowing. It happened several times a day. But anyway,
So,
I'll throw that.
so one thing we do though is, you know, if we don't understand something or we don't have a lot of experience in it, the school sends us to Lincoln Electric School. They send us to Hobart's Welding School. So we go to the biggest welding schools in the country and we learn from them to come back and put it into our program. You know, we don't know everything and I'm never gonna claim to know everything. So when something comes to us and I'm like, I don't feel 100% comfortable with this, me and Randy booked plane tickets and we take off, right, to where we need to go. I, at one time, was flying to Dayton, Ohio about 3 times a year for robotic training, just so that we could put that into our welding program now. Okay, so.
I hope we have some slides on it. We do have robots as well.
I think we do. So, when I say we do a lot of different processes, we really do. Okay, so when you take that first batch of classes I just showed you and you drop it in with this, now you have an industrial welding certificate. Okay, so take everything you already took, throw it in here. Basically, I'll make the simple look at it here. You got 3 more welding classes, a metallurgy class, and a couple math, English, health, stuff like that. So now you get another piece of paper from the college when you graduate. You have an industrial weld certificate. The neat thing about everything I'm getting ready to show you is all this stuff rolls into an associate's degree. Okay, so that's where a lot of this is nice. All of it stacks together. When you're taking this, you never see a different program. You're not rolling from one thing into the next. It's seamless. When you get in our program with us, you stay with us until it's done. You never really know you're switching in and out of this stuff. So that's our industrial welding certificate. The difference between this and the other ones will get you a lot of your training. Okay, you're gonna get trained on everything, pretty qualified on a lot of stuff, but we're not gonna really get into that certification thing yet. These other classes is where we're gonna roll you into that, okay? So that's the difference between the industrial welding and just the welding certificate. One big thing we try to do is give our students a lot of experience on other things other than just sitting in a welding booth. Like he said, we built outside simulators. There are these little platforms that we move around. We take our Miller Bobcat engine-driven welders out there, fire them up in the parking lot, and you weld like you would on half the construction sites. Another thing that we do is take some little small jobs, and usually we take this stuff in from our maintenance department at the college. You know, every once in a while we'll take outside projects and things, but we put it in our program, okay? So this looks like something simple. He's adding teeth to a bucket, right? But that's experience that he beforehand wouldn't have had. So we show them, we talk to whoever brings us this job, we figure it out, and then we let them kind of work their way through it also. So I took Riley out there, I said he wants his teeth here, this is how he wants it done, and then I kind of turn him loose and see what happens. Okay? You get everything tacked up, come get me, because I don't want it to be wrong. And then we talk through the process, and once they get it all correct, then we let them weld it all the way out. Okay? So we take, usually a couple of times a year, we take jobs. Was that last spring that we did the cart?
I think that's what we're doing.
I want to
Top
say
picture.
for last Martinsville spring race, which is getting ready to come up, we built a cart for them that they actually pull the trophy out on. So their trophy is a grandfather clock. Okay? So last spring race, a couple of our students pulled the grandfather clock out and the pre-race stuff, got to stand out there as the drivers walked by. But that was one thing that we were approached by Martinsville Speedway to build for them. So we were in the process, I think in that top picture, I believe Carlos is in that, building that right there for them.
It was a small cart, but it was complicated. The grandfather clock's 6 foot tall. So if you set it on a small cart, you know what I was worried about? We're on national TV. So we drag it out there and it turns over. Now we're famous. Because we turned over the clock, right? So it was not as easy as you think. We had to go through the inside of the clock and find a way to bolt it to the cart. Because it's not exactly smooth sailing to go out to the speedway and drag it to the start-finish line. So anyway, I know it sounds like a little cart. It had wheels on it. We worked with machining to put axles in it. We welded it up on a jig table there. But it was more to it than you realize. 6 foot grandfather clock.
And it was one of those things where, you know, we had a blueprint to build it off of. So it was one of those things where now we have those people who are in blueprint class get to see this blueprint and just to see the final product we're building. A lot of people, that's their problem, is they see a blueprint and they do good in the class, but they don't understand enough to look at a blueprint and see a picture in their head. So, you know, our goal when you leave here is to be able to see something on a piece of paper and kind of envision what it's going to look like when it's done. And that's going to assist you in the building process of that. So the last little piece of paper from the college is a career state certificate in robotic welding. Like I talked about, we are on our sixth group through the robotic welding program. If you look at this, if you've taken our industrial weld certificate, you've done knocked out those first 4 classes. Okay, so that's only the bottom 3 is all you have to worry about. We do robotic programming, robotic welding. So what we do here, a lot of people, you know, have contacted us throughout the years about robots, and it's starting to be very popular in this area, especially down when you get into like Kernersville, Greensboro, or get up into Roanoke. It's a lot more companies than you realize that are running robotics, right? For years, the way it worked though was everybody took a welder from their company, okay, and took them and sent them to school to get trained in robotic welding, okay? So that's the way it worked when I was welding. Everybody that welded on a robot where I was at, you had to be there for at least a couple of years before they would invest the money and send you to school. So we're the first school now that I know of, I don't know if anybody started since we did, but when we started this, the first school that actually offered a robotic welding program through and through, doing the programming and the weld all together. And then what we're doing is, we're not one of those schools that has one robot and we have 30 people sitting here and I run it in front of you. We have 5 robots and I put 8 people in a class. So the school hates me for that because I've told them I don't want to put no more than 8 people in it. My idea behind that is you learn doing something by doing it. You don't learn listening to me talk about it, okay? So in a class, it's you and a partner on a robot. That's it. So if we have a 4-hour-long class and y'all split it evenly, every day you have that robotic controller in your hand for about 2 hours. So while you're working, your buddy's watching you, right? So we do little small stuff. We start out doing basic programming. We get into complicated parts, and then we start welding. So that program is starting to take off. Deer Hitachi came up last week. They are 70% robotic welding in their whole company. And their head over robots come and talk to me about how we can start taking people straight out of our program and placing them down there with that job instead of having to go through the normal system of becoming a welder first before they become a robotic operator or a robotic programmer. Randolph?
Well, in a lot of companies, you'll weld 4 or 5 years before you'll jump into their robots. But a lot of companies are new to the robotic world. Think about a robot. Does a robot come in late for work? I mean, if you set him up and he's welding, he's there every day and he can out-weld us. And he can do more welds than we can do in one day. I'm a little envious because I'm old. And I always counted on myself to do those welds. And now the robots can be programmed and they can out-weld me. So, pretty mad about it. I might retire and leave Chad with the program. But it's because the robots are so good. I'm just kidding. I'm not leaving you. Not yet. But anyway, you got to see that thing can make hundreds of welds a day. As long as somebody can program it right and put it in the right position, I mean, it's just there to weld. Think about a company who has 5,000 parts that have to be built. And that robot's knocking out 30 to 50 a day, where me and him might could build 10 of each. It's just numbers, it's production, it's money. So if you maintain them and you get trained on them, that's another feather in your cap. And again, he just told you that's your 3rd certificate. And then the next thing is the associate degree. And I'm really proud to have an associate degree tied with our weld program. But now you're leaving with 3 certificates, an associate in technical studies that has electrical, welding, CAD, machining. You're a well-rounded person. It could be a maintenance job that pays $30 an hour because you got the stuff on your resume now. All right, so we have a really good system. So build your resume when you finish. Like you said, it all falls together. It collapses together at the end. When you finish, you have all that. And that ain't even counting the certifications he told you about a minute ago. So think about that resume.
All right, so real quick, this is just a little cruise through of our shop. or not even really half of our shop. This is just a little section of it. But once we built it, they brought a drone in, flew through and shot just a little bit of footage. So as long as it loads, there you go. So every booth you're in, the whole shop has 45 welding booths. We can run 2 groups in there at a time. Those are 8x8 welding booths. Inside each welding booth is about $12,000 worth of equipment. So we have basically 2 designated sections for all of your stick, MIG, flux core. We have a whole row for just your TIG welding. And then a lot of our guys that get into like TIG pipe and stuff like that, we have a whole row for specialty into that. And then that's the robotic shop over on that end. So one thing about our shop, we for years worked out of something that was about 2,500 square foot, okay? We were very limited in what we could do. It's probably been 5 or 6 years ago now. They came to me and Randy and was like, what do y'all think should be the best shop in Virginia? Like, if you could build the best welding shop in Virginia, how would you do it? They walked us into a building the college owned. We pretty much told them, like, yeah, from this wall right here, that way will probably work, right? They thought we were gonna pick a piece of that. I wanna say now we're about 150 by 150 total feet. We have a fabrication area, which has all the fabrication stuff that me and Randy thought was necessary for us. We have 45 welding booths. We have all new machines. When I say we literally have $1 million in weld machines, we probably have $1 million in weld machines. The robotics there, they pretty much come to us and ask us, what do y'all think is best for the robotic program or how to learn on it? We gave them an idea and that's what they bought for us. We have CNC plasma tables. So if you've ever seen something like a big programmable table, like a water jet or anything like that, we have the same concept. We just have a smaller version of it that we're running with a plasma cutter so that we can program stuff out, cut it. So we're teaching you a little bit of CAD and a little bit of design stuff inside there too. Inside of each booth, like I said, we have the capabilities of doing pretty much anything we need to do as far as the welding program goes today. The reason I say today is technology might change tomorrow and something new is going to come out and we're going to play catch up again. But when we built this, we put the machines in that I'm going to call them the Cadillacs of anything you're going to work with ever, right? But we have the capabilities of doing a lot there.
And that's not counting the simulators. We have, between our Patrick County shop and Marshall shop, I think we have 20 of these. So when you first start, and you can even run this today, there's no way you can get hurt here. But you're going to think you're welding this piece of metal to this piece of metal. And that's what it looks like when you're in this $10,000 hood. So you see the puddle and you see the sparks and it's counting on you to try to weld these 2 pieces together. So when you get off or go too fast or lose your angle, then this computer, it looks like a welder, but it's a computer, it's going to start grading you on that. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Where's y'all's Patrick County one?
The Patrick County shop's inside the Patrick County High School.
Oh, it is. Is it new?
5 years ago, probably.
5 years. I call it new, but it's 5 years already.
True. Because I went there.
Oh, you went there?
Yeah.
So I was there about 5 or 6 years ago when we built it. I started that shop.
Okay.
So it was actually in the vocational area, like where the ag shop is. It would have been the next up from that.
It's
so
like
CTE somewhere?
Yeah,
it's
yep.
like 15 booths.
Yep.
It's as big as we could make it in the square footage we had. We actually used that shop as our kind of our practice to build this big one. And we set some equipment in it and tested it, and it's a really nice shop to be in a high school.
Didn't I just win something or something with Bowden, or did something with Bowden like a few days ago?
They do stuff all the time. So the instructor that's there is from the college. So he's probably, the last thing I seen, they were all the people who got certifications in the last little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of them got certified in high school. So there's the dual enrollment part that we offer in the other schools. So we're trying to get y'all when you graduate, but we'll see where that goes later.
Do what?
Who's the instructor there?
Glenn Belcher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were sharing pictures of students getting their certification.
Yeah. Seen that.
Is that the end of this one?
Yeah. Anybody got any more questions? Yeah, go ahead.
How does welding actually work?
How does it work? So just like you're talking about the basic process of it. So basically what happens depends on what kind of weld you're doing, but you're creating an electric arc essentially that melts both base materials. So if I was putting these 2 pieces of metal together here, based on what process I'm using, but this will start to break down both base materials. And then whatever type of process I'm using, if it was stick welding here, my filler metal is actually inside the electrode. That's the additional metal that's put there that's gonna fuse those two together. So a lot of that's based on the process you're running, because each one's a little different.
So melting base metal together, but then adding either the stick electrode, even if I TIG it, I'm still gotta add a filler rod. This is what's gonna melt the metal, and then I gotta add the filler rod. If I MIG weld it, that's a wire coming out of that MIG gun, and it's melting the metal together. So joining two pieces of metal. I mean, anything from a bridge that we rode over this morning, to the buses you rode to school on, the car you drive home, I promise you it's welds everywhere in it. Some of it can be robotics. When they build cars these days, it's mostly robots. But I went over a bridge just doing construction this morning, and there's a welder welding an I-beam underneath the bridge. So it's weldings everywhere. The roof that's over our head. On the other side of them ceiling tiles, we got welded structure up there. That's what keeps us safe. So are welds important? Sure.
And a lot of people don't understand how much welding affects everything you're doing. You know, you don't realize how much stuff you touch every day that was welded. The chairs you're sitting in, I guarantee you there's welds on the bottom of them, right? You know, there's only a few structural shapes as far as material goes. Outside of anything built with those, it has to be welded together or bolted together, okay? So other than
You had to look.
Other
It's
than
there, right?
some of the structural shapes that's already formed, everything else we have to weld. So, you know, a lot of people don't realize how much welding I do on stuff I own all the time, right? Trucks. I have old trucks and stuff, lawnmowers, heavy equipment. That was one big thing that sold me in welding was I watched a guy welding on a dozer that my family owned, and I watched Daddy count out 6 $100 bills to him. This was years ago. And that guy was there for like 5 hours. I was kind of like, that's pretty interesting. You mean I can trade 5 hours for $600? That's a pretty good deal. Okay, I didn't really know what all was involved with that. You know, it was a lot more work than I really seen at probably 10 years old. But you know,
Still good money.
everything you touch is welded. And if that product wasn't welded, the process of making it, that equipment was welded, right? So that's why when I talk to people about jobs and stuff, that's the reason I don't have a hard time selling this to anybody. You can take a map of the United States, throw a dart at it, you're gonna hit an open weld job. You know, I tell everybody, you know, nursing and welding, those are your two things that you will never run out of, and there's jobs open every day. My wife is a nurse, she can go anywhere she wants to go, right? As a welder, I can go just about anywhere I wanna go, and there's gonna be a job there. So that's the nice part. When you start thinking about a career that you want to get involved in, think about how many jobs there's going to be in that. Because you don't want that one job where there's one person in the county that does it. Okay? You want it to where there's 50 people in your county that does it, right? So that means you're always going to have a job, especially if you do good work. Anything, Randolph?
If you want to pull up a few pictures, we're going to show you a few pictures from our shop. We'll let you check out some of this metal here in a minute.
I'm going to show them a video real quick, actually.
Oh yeah, do that. And then if you have other questions, we'll get on the simulator.
Uh-oh.
We'll try some stuff.
Okay.
Rock road.
Y'all ain't fixed that yet?
What happened? It's there.
Oh, there it went. I thought
Sometimes it gets mad.
last time I hit a button, it went to a whole new screen. So.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
You don't want us to fix it. We go get the hammer out of the truck.
No, you can't.
You mean you can't do technology too?
They don't like us. We get hammers out and grinders out. We try to fix it.
That's where about
Please work.
All right, I'll try not to make this too loud. Here's a quick video, and I like this video just because it does kind of talk you through a couple of different things with the welding. I know we're here trying to talk to y'all, and we're kind of covering a lot of it, but I think this video does a little better for the stuff that we get. Maybe that didn't turn it all the way down.
really sure what I wanted to do at the time. I, kind of rolled and rolled, checked out various classes in different, programs. Never really found anything that I really liked. Well, I came in here and I signed up for a welding class, and it was just an immediate, that's it, this is kind of what I really want to do.
When I finally decided that it was time for me to get an education, I looked into the local community college, and they had one of the best welding programs in the world. So I thought I would give it a try. I was really big into art in high school, so it sounded fun. I thought I was just going to try it out, but once I was there, I absolutely fell in love with it.
Welding was kind of a never-ending struggle to learn something. It is a science, it's also an art form, so you never really, you never achieve your goal. You're always striving to get a little bit better, and there's always something else to learn. So it's really a never-ending education. I like that.
I love welding and chose a career in the welding industry because there were so many different facets of the industry that I wasn't originally aware of. There's so many different levels or paths you can take within the industry. And I like the idea that I have no idea where I'm going to be in 10 years. And, just from 5 years ago, I've been able to learn so much. And every day I'm doing something different. It's not the same mundane thing every single day.
Be applied to pretty much anything. Anything that you can almost think of, welding's there. Some facet in whatever that program or whatever that job or whatever that career, there may be something that deals with materials, metals, or welding in general. And you can almost go anywhere with it. So it's perfect.
It's awesome to work somewhere where you're not pigeonholed into one thing or one industry or one product. We really literally get our hands in everything that you interact with every day. I think it's really interesting that, most people walk around every day not thinking about, how much welding affects our lives and where we would be without it. It's amazing.
Short and sweet, at least you got to see some of the processes there. Any more questions?
Oh, they have a bunch of questions.
They each have 3, but we don't have time for all that.
Okay,
We have about 35 minutes
35 minutes?
total.
Oh, we're doing good, Rand.
What is the best tip you could give someone getting into welding?
Don't give up.
Don't mess it up.
Hey, I love that. So, like I said earlier, not everybody's built for welding. Is it hot? Do we wear a lot of gear? Do we have to have a lot of safety PPEs on and stuff like that? But I love what she said. When you get in there, and the thing that's nice about our school is it's your pace. So if you're really good at something, you're going to move on. If you're not, that's our job to find out where the weaknesses are, where's your trouble spots, and then we still take that student and move them through. We've been fortunate. Everybody we've hired has been really good. They've all had to make their living welding. So like he said, we're humble. We don't think we're the best. And when we find something we're a little bit bad, we need some, knock the rust off, we're flying to Cleveland, we're flying to Ohio, we're going somewhere to improve our skill to help you. So I like it. Never give up. Always push forward. I'm a little older and I've been in this field for a long time, but I can tell you welding is so broad that when I retire, I'll still be able to look at Chad and say, I never did get to see it all. Because the technology in welding is just like these cars they build today. Something new is on every new vehicle. The welding's the same way. The welding machines that I see today, nowhere close to what I started with. Okay? So we're constantly having to learn. It's so broad though, that's what makes welding not boring. You heard those people talk about it in the video. That girl goes in every day and she's building something different. Or she might be robotics today, hand weld tomorrow, TIG weld the next day. That's what I liked when I was out in the field welding and pulling a welder every day. They would send me to a different job. I might be able to be welding structure, I might be welding pipe, might be steam, might be gas. It's different things. But that's what was interesting, and it keeps you from getting bored. Even the companies that do production lines, some of that might be monotonous, but the pay's so good, if you weld them good, it's hard not to, the people who we put in those fields, they say the checks come so fast, they don't realize what they're doing. And they're getting really good at one process. Next thing you know, it's another payday. So, and then what's their end product? Like at Deere, they're building a Traco. If it has 200 on the side of it, it's a $200,000 machine that you had parts that you welded with your hands. And it's out here digging the earth every day. You're hoping your weld holds, right? I know I was always worried about mine, but after you get trained, you can have the security of knowing that you put good welds in. Anything else? I know you all have 3 questions, but we can talk about some of those while we set some people on the simulator here.
They can't do it unless they have a question.
Oh,
I already
There you
did.
go.
Oh.
heard that.
I did.
So anyway, when you ask a question, you can come up and see Randy.
Not all at one time.
Put comments at home.
He has a question, you can come down. So on this right here, Chad, we want to see if they can walk across this.
Do we want to turn the lights on?
It don't matter.
Mrs. Smith,
It don't matter, we see.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you to maybe explain the importance of the different gases and materials when you're talking about students being on different levels, because I know you have to switch between things, right? Gas types,
Yeah.
material, what? Maybe just try to help them understand why it's a big deal that you're kind of stressed out and going around and all these different things. It's not just one set station.
That's very true, and in our new shop, the old shop, we had a lot of tanks and stuff that had to be moved and hooked up. And that's why we love the fact that the engineers kind of let us have some input in the new shop. But when you sit in there and you're MIG welding, and we do the hardwire stuff with you, we might have a 75-25 gas, 75% argon, 25% carbon dioxide. So you'll learn the gases while you're there too. But that's what will protect the wire that would come out of this gun. If we spray transfer, another type of MIG welding, we might put you on 90-10. So you see the different mixtures. What if I'm TIG welding? Well, it might be 100% argon. You're going to learn all this, but we have all this already piped into every booth. So we might spoil you a little bit, but that gives us the time to just switch over the gases in the booth, switch over the welding process, and you're on your way. Whereas in the old shop, it was difficult to do that, and we didn't have half of this setup. So when we talk about MIG welding, we're talking about pulling the trigger on a MIG gun, and the wire's coming out, and you're melting metal with it. TIG, tungsten inert gas, that's when we got to hold this. Now when you TIG in our shop, we have machines where this TIG torch is going to be in this hand, whether you're wrong-handed or right-handed. And then you're going to add a filler rod, and you're going to have to mash a pedal to get it to weld. So now you got 3 things going on at one time. And I always joke, because I've taught this so long, that you got 4, because you're going to have to hold your tongue right too. Okay? So you got 4 things going on to melt base metal, add a filler, and keep moving. So this is our advanced stuff. Today, this has an ink pen in it, and don't have a tungsten in it. We're going to see if you can actually draw some patterns on this piece of paper while holding the TIG torch different ways. Okay? It's not real easy because the pen don't do great, but it gives you a little simulation of how you'd have to move a TIG torch across a piece of metal. Okay? So that's something we can work on. You can look at everything. We have the weld rods, and then of course we're going to run the simulator because we asked a question right here, and then we'll have somebody else ask us a question.
And real quick, before we kind of start getting all over the place and talking, if any of y'all are interested at all in welding, and think that you might be interested in our welding program, we have a notebook right here. Come up, write your name where we can read it, because me and Randy aren't good at reading, and write a phone number that we can get in touch with you with. Okay? I have my business cards here, Randy's is here, and we also have pamphlets talking about the program. Pick this stuff up before you leave if you're interested. At least get a business card to where you can contact us or write your number down. So what we'll do by that is we'll contact you at some point before fall and say, hey, we talked to you, you was interested, okay? So just seeing if you're still interested in welding, do you want to come to Patrick Henry, and here's the process and steps to do that, okay?
And then we got what, 11, possibly 12 sections of welding
Yeah.
that you could get into.
So we run everything from morning, midday, night classes. We pretty much can cover anybody's work schedule for the most part,
And then
okay?
everything we talked about today is in here. So if you want to grab one of these, you can. I don't know if we'll have enough for all day, but we'll see.
So while Randy's doing this, I'll kind of talk to y'all. If anybody's got questions, I'll show you a couple pictures. And as y'all ask questions stuff, if you're interested and you want to get with Randy, y'all can kind of go up here a few at a time. Randy can run y'all through the simulator and kind of show y'all what's going on there, okay? So feel free to holler at me and ask questions. I'm just going to talk you through some of the pictures and kind of some stuff that we do, and we'll go from there. So
Put this on your hand.
with this right here, this is a guy that's doing open root TIG, getting ready for TIG welding pipe.
I'm putting it on there.
So a lot of stuff that you do that's very precise, very critical, is gonna be TIG welded. Stuff like power plants and things like that is what this guy's getting ready to
We
do.
got it set up
Okay.
about a 4-inch weld here. So you only weld with a green.
Here's one, she just done some MIG welding, so we took pictures of them, kind of have some pictures to show y'all. You see the shop in the background, but every class, this is what we do. Our program is 95% in the shop every day.
And when you
There's classes where I literally talk to you for 5 minutes, and then we go in the shop and weld for 4 or 5 hours at a time, okay? Not all the questions at once now, right? There's our 2 CNC plasma cutting tables. So what they are is they're set up just like a water jet or anything big you see at these big fabrication companies. So if I need a part, if I need to cut something out because I'm building something, I would go in the computer, I would draw this part, I would go into this system, upload all my images and everything, and I'll go in and program it and cut that part out. And it's pretty accurate.
Keep looking at the metal, come in closer. Wow, but he calibrates.
Everybody's focusing on Randy. Come on, Randy.
Maybe we should set it up outside next time.
Nah.
You gotta move in and get closer and look at that piece.
If I look at some of their questions, if you weld something incorrectly, what do you do?
So
Look at it.
the nice thing about welding is pretty it's pretty feedback friendly. If I screw up, I gotta cut it apart and fix it. Okay, so as a welder, the last thing I'm gonna do is put something together wrong or make a bad weld, because all I'm gonna have to do now is spend hours of rework cutting something apart and putting it back together. Or if it's something on like a critical piece of material, I may have to scrap the part. Okay, if I'm building something out of something very expensive like titanium, okay, I might scrap, a couple $1,000s worth of materials because I couldn't read a blueprint correctly. I just put a guide to a business down in Carolina at Brown Summit, it's a company called Abco Automation. They do a lot of crazy alloyed materials, and it's nothing for them to have a part the size of this helmet that's got $5,000 worth of base material involved in it. That's not counting machining time, welding time, stuff like that. So when they build stuff for like nuclear reactors, things like that, it's very expensive material and stuff going into it. Down there, you screw up about 2 parts, they fire you. So, now I just had it welded, Randy.
Yeah, he calibrates. Try it.
I always hold it in my hand. It's funny watching Randy put it on his head to do it. Probably, it might be the light.
Could be. Can we turn the lights back on? He was close enough. He was definitely
Sorry.
close enough.
What Miss Lopez say? Watch your little eyes.
Guys, please don't take this as an invitation to get on your phone. Thank you.
Hit the R button, yeah, right? All right, so what questions do we got?
Somebody else asked a question.
What gear or equipment do you have to have yourself?
So the neat thing about our program is, we require all the PPE, you mess with that, all the PPE, so helmet, jacket, gloves. I tell everybody, I pick everybody, tell them to show up like I do, show up with boots on, pants on every day. Do not wear golf shirts or polyester shirts, they do melt. But the neat thing about it is the bookstore now has all of our welding equipment. We have packs worked out with a local company. They were Lincoln, I don't know what they're using now. So if you have financial aid or a grant or anything like that, all of your welding stuff other than your boots, your pants and stuff like that's free, essentially. It's covered by your financial aid now. So anything you need is pretty much at the school. Everything else we have all of, everything you need to weld, all the consumables and stuff like that go along with everything. We have everything there.
Has there ever been a funny or embarrassing reaction to using the fake
The
welding?
simulator?
Yeah.
Not really. A lot of people are amazed at how accurate it is once they use it. You take people that have never welded before. I had it welded a minute ago, Randy done broke it. You may have to turn it all the way off, everybody home.
I went out, I reset.
A lot of people are amazed at how accurate it is because it actually does retract the welding electrode just like it does when it's burning off while you're manually actually welding. You see the weld happen, you hear the sounds, and it gives you the instant feedback just like welding
Get it
does.
centered with that.
What else y'all got?
Raise the helmet to the.
Go ahead.
What's the longest, like, continuous weld you had to do?
So we used to build some parts. It's actually, if you ever get bored, look up Lee Bear mining trucks. Okay, they're the big dump trucks you see, like the 8, 10 foot tall tires, giant dump trucks that have a ladder to climb up in. So I worked for a company and we built parts for them. We built bumpers for them. And you think that's a small part, the bumpers were 13 foot long and weighed 3,900 pounds. It took me and another guy 60 hours a week, so a total of 120 hours went into each bumper. And some of the welds we had to put on there were 6.5 foot long because they didn't want no brakes in them. So as a welder, I figured out the easy way to do it. I'm lazy, right? If you do this stuff every day, you figure out the easiest way to do something. I would take magnetic squares and I would stick them to the part, take a piece of angle iron and lay the piece of angle iron down on top of that where I could rest my hand on it. So that I was actually MIG welding everything, so I could get up there and lay my backhand on that piece of angle iron now, pull the trigger and start walking. And I could actually make that weld continuous every time.
We started over.
So some companies have like a track style machine for that, but we didn't have none. Everything had to be manual there. And we had to wrap corners and stuff in a weird funny way so you couldn't actually run it with anything that we had at the company.
Yeah, move it.
So those each weld took probably 3 or 4 minutes to weld. And then they were multi-stacked welds, so I had to do that. Each one of those was 6 beads. So I did that 6 times on each side. So it usually took me probably a good couple hours just to make those 2 welds. What else you got? I will say, a lot of people ask me about like my former work and what all I've done.
Figure out why she's not ready.
I mainly got into fabrication. I built everything from parts the size of those T-joints up to 13 foot long, 3,900 pound bumpers. We built battery boxes for mining vehicles. They were roughly about 2 of these tables put together and stuff like that we built in the shop. We built blades for like Hitachi excavators and stuff like that. We built all their blades for them. We were a contractor for them. Randy, he welded on the pipeline for a lot, so that's what he was. His background's pipe welding. So one thing neat, I think, about our program is, we have instructors that have all done different things. We're not all from the same company. We all don't know the same thing, right? We all came in. Randy was old, back when they used to, weld the horse and buggies and stuff like that. I'm youthful. I'm just a few days past 18, so I'm not.
Don't know better than that.
But technology is his fault, as you can tell.
Oh, there it is.
But so, Randy's pipe welding, I'm into fabrication and stuff, mainly heavy fabrication. Another one of our instructors, he worked for a lot of companies that did a lot of turbine work and stuff like that. So we kind of spread across the board on everything we've done. All of us in some form or fashion had done repair work and had side jobs. Now 3 of us are CWIs. So we go out and do some contract inspection and stuff for companies on the side.
It did it.
And we're pretty much all over the place.
Paid a lot of money for this not to work.
I had it working, Randy.
It didn't make one weld today.
All right, let me show you how to do this.
Dad, I'm gonna do the pictures. You come over here and try it again.
All right, any more questions? We're gonna show y'all how to troubleshoot a simulator. Injuries. For the most part, I have found that welding is fairly safe. Done proper and done with the proper stuff. I've seen people get hurt. I've seen people get hurt bad, but I've also seen people get hurt riding a bicycle, right? So the difference there is, the reason we put a $400 shield over my face is not just to keep my beard okay, but it's to keep me from getting burnt, right? Get stuff in my eyes. I've dropped stuff on my feet, so having steel toes, and a lot of welding companies require a metatarsal boot now that covers the top of your foot, because a lot of the injuries, is kind of what drives the safety of companies. Of course, safety glasses and stuff like that, but when you deal with stuff, when you're melting steel together, and steel melts anywhere around 2,500 degrees, I'm not a scientist, I'm not going to break it all down for you, but when you have that happening right in front of your face for 12 and 14 hours a day, you got to be covered up, okay? I've been burnt with the light itself will burn your skin, the heat coming off the weld will burn your skin, sparks are going to hit you everywhere. I've had to go on my ears, up my nose, and everywhere else while I'm welding. So a lot of the injuries are very small, but there again, it's kind of like everything else. Usually when you're doing something stupid, you get hurt. And that's kind of
the welding gear today, though, is much, much better. We barely have any injuries at all in our school. And it's because the gear is so much better. The jackets are better, the gloves, the hats you put on your head, the welding helmets. I mean, these are automatic lenses, so they change when you do the arc. When I started welding, it stayed black all the time and dark, and you had to strike the arc to even see it. So think about how hard the restarts were when these hoods, when we weld what the hoods I used to use. So you couldn't see anything out of that hood until you struck the arc. And now you guys can walk around and see through these, and it will automatically change when you are.
And one of the other big things with safety is, that's where robotic welding has really made a large push, is you're taking the person out of the hazardous environment, right? So if you have something that, it's unsafe for people to be around, you're going to robotically weld it because now you're taking that person out of it. So a lot of the technology is driving towards safety also. So the injury thing there again is usually, if everything's done properly and done right, is not really any worse anywhere else.
This is how,
Okay?
once I get it right.
What else y'all got? Average pay in this area, we're looking at roughly, when I came out of school, if you got $13 an hour, you're doing good. Okay? The difference now is because of supply and demand, because there's so many weld jobs and nobody's out there to do them, there's a large gap there. We have seen the amount of money go crazy. The companies that when I went to school not long ago was willing to pay you $15 an hour are paying you $25 an hour now. Okay. A lot of the companies now also are even offering stuff like sign-on bonuses of $2,500 after your 90 days is up. And that's to generate people. The big thing is, and we are kind of the exact example of it, you have people that are older in the welding field, and then you have people that are my age and younger in the welding field. I'm not going to tell you how old Randy is, but there's about a 20-year gap there that there's no welders.
This,
Okay,
I have to go find this color. I have to dye this. Just saying.
But, and that's the difference, and that's why there's a lot of money getting pushed into welding now, is because there's such a gap there in people. Okay, and companies are realizing that, and they're having to pay a lot of money now to get people interested in welding.
Now, that's a true saying. When I left high school, when I went to the military, they were taking out the trades. The brick masons, the welding, the HVAC, stuff come out of high school. And think about it, it just has started coming back into high school. So there's the gap that he talked about. Even though I'm not really that old, it left high schools for 20 years. And then who do you need when your iron's out at your house? You need that guy. You need him to be trained. When your trailer's broken on the farm, who do you need? You got to have that welder. And you need that guy you need him trained. You need to hold it. Did you get it? Oh, you did it the whole time?
Yeah, say go that way.
And a lot of people think, we sit here, we push trades, and we do. And it's not just welding. I think that you're gonna see a very large gap. Not just, like I say, not just in welding, there's a gap everywhere. Electricians, plumbers, maintenance people, everything like that, there's a big deal.
That was really good.
Aren't they shipyards?
Yeah, this is a neat.
Yes,
This is.
they hadn't come out, they came out and seen us about a year ago.
And we'd be
And
melting.
the last time they talked to us, they needed like 500 welders.
That's excellent.
And it pays, you're looking at low 30s an hour starting out there. So,
I could be a welder too.
Yes, you bet.
You roll the ticket.
you will be shocked at how much better females are at welding than males.
They make,
I look at their detail.
I think they feel like they got something to prove.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, a lot of times it is that, females, they're a little more particular about things and how things they want it to look. So I've noticed a lot of the females that I have in the class, they want things to be right. They just don't want to be good enough to move on. So a lot of times that's, I think, a lot of the drive behind it, and then they want to outdo all the males that started with them. Usually part of it
do
too.
y'all remember the 3 reasons females are better? The fluctuation, y'all remember it's like 1.5%?
No.
What else?
I have to do that too.
Center of gravity, right? What else? Come on,
I'll
Miss
get another
English class.
picture in a minute.
Women.
No, we can't be sexist. Nobody remember? All right, go ahead, babe.
Take better care of that hoe.
Yep, there you go.
So, and I will tell you, a lot of it now, a lot of these companies, it used to be, the reason welding field was really male dominated was, it was no assistance there, right? We had to pick something big up, stick it up here and work on it, right? Now every company has stuff in place to make things simpler. You get the lap joint or the flap now. So now things are in place where we don't really have that advantage because now we have personal cranes and stuff in every welding booth and things like that, right?
Randy.
Oh, I had a stand on it, Randy.
Well, they won't try that. I think it could be, it's not picking
Do
up.
I know how to pin weld now.
Any more questions?
Does anybody else want to try that didn't yet? That was,
Cam, get down there, man.
Get it to work.
Get down there.
We're gonna try to get it working. It worked one time.
I had it fixed and Randy broke it. Y'all can all
I
blame
hope
it
you
on
don't
him.
make the IT guy come back. Anybody want to try to walk? Who else asking questions? You want to walk us a T-torch?
So hard easy. It's hard easy. You know.
So when you walk a TIG torch, yes, we're telling you to push the pin on the paper today to make a mark, but we'd be just off the metal making that same weld, melting the metal. So this is the way I held it. And watch the pin start writing here. Now I want you to go that way, but you gotta take small steps. Have to get your hand in the right position, make the pin touch the metal,
I want to
I
see.
mean the paper, and then see if you can walk it.
It's supposed to show a nose on the piece.
You signed right here too?
He wants me to go. I'm going. I'm just kidding. I'm like,
Did you get the pin to right
trying
on
to be
the
a real
paper?
estate agent.
I was thinking it
I
might
might
be,
need to know
but
what welding is.
Yeah, the same.
Ah!
it would like
Like
that.
I said earlier, don't give up too quick. Try it again. Let me see.
Oh, I think if I done it over here.
It's harder than it looks, ain't it? Yeah, I'm not crushing down on it hard. All you gotta do is touch it. You gotta move back and forth. Now look, I'm coming towards you. One
It's not
more
sticking
step.
up. Randy broke it. I had it right. You've seen that. I was even well with it.
Come on, Chad. Put it on your head, sit there and calibrate.